Greetings, my people, my fellow Biafrans, and to anyone who this concerns and chooses to listen, because this election we're going into, after this election, it will be the point of no return, literally the point of no return. You keep hearing about election boycott, boycott the election, and you think it's a joke. Do you really believe that you have no other option but to vote? Okay, so you must vote, and your only options are Buhari or Atiku. Are they your only options? Really? Okay, how about not voting? That can you think about that for a bit and see how much sense that makes? You okay? I don't like the process, so I'm not voting. Why must you be put in a position to feel you must vote for one of or a lesser of two evils? Basically, put in a position made to feel like you've got no choice. No, there's a third choice. You don't vote at all. And it's simple. You don't, on the day you wake up, you cook food and enjoy yourself. Okazi soup, rijua for, chop belle full. Or you want to go and vote so that they'll give you 5,000. Can 5,000 even 5,000 won't last you more than a pot of soup. And then there's the risk of election violence, all because you are hell bent on renewing your own enslavement, the certificate of your own enslavement, and yeah, you are with zeal going to go and sign again under duress by the so-called fake soldiers of the Nigerian military. Come on, those soldiers are fake. Soldiers are fake. soldiers soldiers when they jam real armed guys for Sambisa forest, then go they run. But then now to come do Superman for peaceful protester. That's a fake soldier now. That's a fake soldier. So you really think you need to vote? How about asking the question that, how about all the voting I've done so far? What has that done? I mean, can you also ask yourself this, that if you keep trying something, and it's not working, maybe it's time to try something else? Like I said, after this election, Nigeria have passed the event horizon, the point of no return. As we're blindly marching into this election without resolving the real issues, it's almost like everything's been set in motion now. And, you know, the die is cast, the flux is in motion. We just have to wait and see where the die lands and how the flux settles. So you want to go and vote. You want to go and willingly participate in history's most fraudulent elections. These are clearly the most fraudulent, most dysfunctional, most cantankerous elections conducted in human history. I mean, if you haven't been watching what's going on, then you must live under a rock. This is an election where, look, everything I'm saying is verifiable. You go on Google, do the research. You have an election where clearly we've seen PVCs registered to underage voters, under 14-year-olds from the north, from Hausa Fulani lands, underage voters. An election where they try to mago everybody so that people from Chad and Niger can vote under the guise of IDPs, internally displaced people. Hold on, internally displaced people from Nigeria because of Boko Haram. Why not bring them back to Nigeria? It's a full-blown war. And then because they are now in Chad and Niger, they are telling us that, okay, they can vote. Hold on, but we also know there's a lot of Fulani in Chad and Niger. Meanwhile, you're telling us that, oh, no. Nigerians in diaspora can't vote. Come on. When clearly you know that most of the Nigerians in diaspora are Igbos, followed by Yorubas. In fact, you can come to UK and spend 10 years, you won't see a Hausa man. Talk less of Fulani. When you see Fulani in UK, you see them in all those Bishops Avenue, the big man area. Otherwise, you don't see them at all. You don't even see Hausa. But on a day-to-day, the Nigerians you bump into on the street, in the train, everywhere, as you go around in London or even in America, most of the cities in America are mostly Igbos, then Yoruba, and all the other ethnic groups down south, like Edo and well, yeah, all the other ethnic groups down south. You have an election where the president's own family are now pulling the strings at INEC. Come on. The incumbent president, his own family are now pulling the strings at the electoral committee. And you want to go and vote. And just to make sure, all his friends and people from his village are in charge of all the security apparatus, just so that anyone tries to say, hey, I disagree, they clamp down. Listen, people, when they tell you Nigeria is sitting on a powder keg and is about to explode, I know it's not the kind of message someone wants to hear. You know, I mean, number one, you are hungry. Number two, you are trying to achieve your dreams. Number three, you probably have children to look after. And then somebody is telling you there's about to be war. Let me tell you something. War doesn't give a shit. War don't give a shit. If war is gonna come, it's gonna come, whether you're ready or not. Whether you've prepared, whether you war doesn't give a shit. When it's time for war, it's time for war, ready or not. And the same thing with revolutions. Revolution does not wait for every single person to get ready before they start. When it's time, it's time. You know, you have an election where suddenly they've removed the Chief Justice and replaced him with, well, claiming that, oh yeah, he's the next in line. But when you dig into this guy's history, you see Sharia everywhere. I mean, how many federal countries worldwide operate two constitutions? As in, as in concurrently. I mean, apart from the model of a confederation where, it's an amalgamation of independent nations with their own constitutions and then one binding constitution. But here in Nigeria, we have several independent nations. But one of these nations has hijacked everybody else, lumped us into one constitution, a fraudulent one at that, where none of us was present. They forged our signatures on there. And then after lumping us into a constitution that they can use to control us, what I call a constitution of slavery, after lumping us into that slavery constitution, they've broken themselves away with an independent constitution of Sharia. But they are still running your constitution to control you. Come on. Look, when are you going to wake up? I know, yeah. I raise my hand to IPOB, the most awoken Africans. But at this stage, we need as many hands on deck. Any so-called Nigerians that thinks, oh yeah, oh I have to exercise my vote, you're an idiot. You're a stupid idiot. I know a lot of you, so-called Nigerians, you refuse to listen to the great Mazen Nnamdi Kanu. And even me just calling his name is going to make a lot of you switch off this video. So I've heard stupid excuses like, oh, well, he doesn't have to be so abusive. Look, sometimes, yeah, you literally have to tell someone they are stupid for them to realize. Sometimes you can't use kid gloves and tell someone they are stupid. But you want to go and vote in a constitution you have never even read nor understand. A constitution that if you were to read, you understand that you've been enslaved. Look, look, I made a video earlier about, Nigeria being a country of 3 monkeys and a baboon. In fact, I'll describe Nigeria in a better manner. Nigeria is a nation that can be described akin to a marriage of 3 wives to an abusive, drunken husband. The husband goes out, gets drunk, comes back, and then comes back and sees 3 punching bags. The first wife, the Hausa, those ones, they've been pummeled into submission and subservience. I don't think the Hausa even know their history anymore. In fact, I think the Igbos and the Yorubas know more Hausa history than the Hausas. Don't get me wrong, I'm sure there are some Hausa men, some sages out there that somehow have preserved the history and hope that one day the history will come back to light. But most Hausas do not even know their history today. You guys were once great kingdoms with great rulers. I mean, the legendary Queen Amina. Look, that queen, that great woman will be turning in her grave today at what you guys have let yourselves in for at the hands of the Fulani. They've turned you all into alimajiris. On your own land, you don't even have a voice anymore. How many Fulani children are alimajiris? Is it the destiny of the Hausa man and his children to be alimajiris? Was it the Hausa man that invented the alimajiri system? So why do you have to put up with it? And then the second wife, the Yorubas. Well, yeah, didn't know what she was going in for the marriage, but went in anyways. In Igbo land, we have a saying, "Love nebuka maya." Love is like alcohol. So yeah, the second wife went into the marriage and suddenly realized, wow, beatings is part of the package. And then, you know, for some reason, uh, yeah, maybe cried out the first few times, realized, oh, crying is not helping. And, that's what happens in the process of getting broken. You keep quiet and roll with the flow. You just go with the flow. Especially when you look at the first wife, the houses, those ones are not really doing anything, you know. And then the third wife comes in, drunk on love as well, not knowing what they were in for. I mean, I guess the second and third wife, the Yorubas and the Igbos, were naive. I mean, I think they were just happy to see rid of the British. Those British are gone. Thank fuck, we're free now. But they didn't realize, you know, the British and the so-called caliphate were pulling the strings all along. So this third wife goes into the marriage and realizes, wow, I ain't taking this shit, and starts speaking up. If you know the youngest wives, they're always the most hot-headed, and starts speaking up. And in that process of speaking up, was always bound to become the prime target for the worst of the beatings at the hands of the abusive husband. And this is why, to anybody who is a Biafran and anybody who considers himself an indigenous person from that enclave called Nigeria, the best thing you can do for yourself, your future, and your children is to boycott these elections, this 20,000, 2019 election. That is the best thing you can do, because the world will notice that the election has been boycotted, and people will be brought to the table to answer the questions, Why? Why was this election boycotted? Okay, why did you boycott this election? Look, don't use your own hand to re-enslave yourself, because you might think, oh, okay, well, is it really slavery? Besides, it doesn't seem that bad. Look, in the dynamic of slave and master, always bear in mind the master can do whatever he wants with the slave. If you think it's not that bad now, it's because the master, you haven't entered his field of attention for what to do with you. If you think it's not that bad now, just look at those in the middle belt that are in the scope of the master and is dealing with them. Do you know that some villages in Benue have been taken over and renamed? The original indigenous people have been driven out, and then those villages have been reoccupied and renamed. And for those of you who think this is just some uh, uh, random troublemakers from Niger and across the border, look, look, no, look, look. You don't just the only people that even armed robbers, yeah, don't go on mission without planning. If you look at the map of Benue and how the crisis has been unfolding, you will see that there's military planning behind this invasion. It's not just some random terrorists trying to take land. There is military planning behind this invasion. It's a two-pronged attack on both flanks, two different flanks. Look, I know there's suffering and hunger in the country, and as a living being, your priority is to find food. Hmm? But if you ignore these kind of messages and say, oh, I beg, let me find food first. If you ignore these kind of messages, what you don't realize is that you're not even solving your food problem. Because this message is telling you why it's so hard for you. These kinds of these kind of messages try to make you understand why it's so hard for you to find that food in the first place. Because you've been tied down in a constitution of slavery and thuggery, where someone is entitled to your land and the produce of your land, and it's up to him what he gives back to you, which is how the caliphate runs us and our resources today. And to show you where all this is logically going to conclude, you just need to look at the Alimajiri system. The Hausas have been disenfranchised on their own land. The Hausa man now wakes up in the morning, sends his child with a begging bowl and food bowl to go to the Fulani chiefs and what they call them again, the Warrant chiefs, begging for food and any other handouts. Nigeria is a giant alimentary system. Because you've gone to school now, is because don't worry, when they extend the whole alimentary system nationwide, it should be our current generation crop of children. How many of them can even read properly? The education system is going down and down and down and down. You go to school, you don't read history. You go to school, they say you must read religious knowledge. In fact, now they are saying you must read Islamic knowledge. You go to school, they teach you biology, they don't teach you evolution. They teach you physics, they don't teach you Big Bang Theory. And then you come out and start arguing with an Oyibo biologist with some baseless nonsense biology you have studied, claiming that is basically, let's call it pseudo biology based on the Nigerian curriculum. Hmm. Nigerians, I know when you people hear about agitation, the first thing you think of is war. Hey, war, hey, no, no. Look, whether you're ready for war or not, when war happens, he doesn't care whether you're ready or not. And it's even better for you to be aware that there might be war than to be totally unprepared for it. Can you imagine if those people in Benue had prior intelligence that Fulani headsmen were coming? Do you think they would have just waited and, okay, let them come? And even if they waited, do you think they would have waited without any defense, any weapons to defend themselves? But because there was no prior warning, they didn't see the war coming. They thought, oh no, it can't happen. I mean, you hear stories of 500 people killed in one instant. Look, let me tell you something. Hmm? All you need to cause major chaos in a small town of about 100,000 people is about 300 AK-47 armed bandits. That's all you need. Especially this one that, oh, Nigerian police, they're now doing, oh, gun amnesty, bring back your guns. Hold on. You should be telling Fulani, you should be taking guns from, since when the Fulani men start carrying AK-47 to head cows? Those are the people you should be taking the guns from, but no, they're taking it from you, the citizen, and trying to enforce it with a useless constitution. So you're left totally defenseless. And then you might be in one town with at least 150,000 people. Look, 300 armed bandits will ransack that town, cause havoc. By the time any of you, the first thing that will happen when you start hearing bullets, everybody will start running. There'll be panic, confusion. Nobody will know what's happening. Before anybody even starts putting together any semblance of a picture of what's going on, an hour, 2 hours, by then, as long as these 300 bandits are well armed, by then you're counting thousands of dead. By the time you put a picture of what's going on and start organizing a rally to rally round and maybe defend yourself, 4, 5, 6 hours, more thousands dead. And then by the time you decide to, you've now started rallying yourselves. But hold on, you've got no guns because the Nigerian constitution has left you defenseless. You rally yourselves, so what do you have? Sticks, stones, machetes against AK-47. How much of a rally round is that? Even if you all decide to bomb rush them like the Zulus did the British, yeah, you kill them, but they will wipe out thousands of you before you bomb rush them. Look, it's not easy, so it's not hard to ransack a whole town with armed bandits. It's not hard at all. They did it in Niger when a terrorist group, they did it, yeah, a few years ago, about 10 years ago, something like that. Some terrorist group just drove into one town in Niger, declared, oh, the caliphate is here. It's now Sharia law. And boom, took over. Just like that, shot some guns in the air. Everybody fell in line. Look, if you think that this election is going to save you, or that you are going to vote out Buhari, like you know, if you think that you have any chance of voting out Buhari in this election, hmm? Oh, maybe you think it's Atiku. Oh, Atiku is better, lesser evil. Let um let me give you an idea of the mindset of a northerner, and I'll try and link the video, where this guy gave this analysis. And in fact, if you go to YouTube yourself and type in "Rare Niger man with working brain sheds light on the mindset of an average core northerner must watch," just type it into YouTube and watch that video. This guy is a southern Nigerian, but speaks Hausa and has a decent command of Hausa at that. And he narrated his experience in a taxi in the north with a Hausa driver. And he said he was in a taxi and the driver was Hausa, and they drove past a big billboard of Atiku and his campaign. And he said to the driver in Hausa, "Ah, I bet I'm sure everybody is looking forward to Atiku because this country under Buhari is too hard." And the driver was like, "Lie, lie, that he can never vote Atiku." And the guy was like, "Are you not in the same Nigeria that we're all suffering?" The driver was like, "Yes, but Atiku is not a true Muslim. That Buhari is a true Muslim. And that because of that, he would rather vote Buhari 1,000 times over to Atiku." You see the mindset of the northerners. I mean, you people, I'm sure you hear about Islamization agenda, and you think, oh, it can't happen, or just like that. Look, there's some people active on the. Oh, you think ISIS was a joke, trying to restore their caliphate? You think that was a joke? Oh, they were just playing. Let me tell you something. The Fulani are trying to restore their own caliphate, or well, not restore, trying to expand their own caliphate, and it's not a joke. This is real shit. Since when the Fulanese settle in eastern Nigeria? Since when did Fulani start settling in Edo? Yes, years ago, every now and then you see a migration trail of them, but they will migrate and go back following the seasons. But now they are building their huts in eastern Nigeria, in Edo. Why? Look, the Fulani Empire was born in 1804. Well, yeah, well, the Fulani Empire started in around Futajalon from about 1,000 years ago. No, from about the 1000 AD, and they started spreading eastwards. They got into Nigeria about 200 years before Usman Dan Fodio. Yeah, about 150 years before Usman Dan Fodio. And when they came, they were welcomed by the houses as outsiders. The houses already had their own kingdoms. The houses were Muslim like them. But because the Fulani, as a pastoral people, have no land, and for some reason, they are hell bent on grabbing other people's lands, they took over the houses, even though the houses were Muslims too. I thought Muslims were supposed to conquer other Muslims. They took over the Hausas, claiming that, oh, the Hausas' version of Islam wasn't pure. Okay, so if it wasn't pure, you now purify it at the sword? And then also their second claim was the Hausa rulers were too oppressive. Hold on. The Hausa rulers were too oppressive. How about the Alimajiri system? How much more oppressive can you get than to reduce someone to a slave beggar? Yes, the Hausas, they were oppressive, they were taxing high, but you still had your freedom, you could go do your business. It's just that when you finish doing your business, yeah, they will take a huge chunk of slice of your profits. Fine, but you were free. But now, under you Fulani own hegemony against the Hausas, you are not only taxing them, you are taxing their futures, their generations. You've even become worse than the enemy you claim to be more righteous than. Cattle herding land grabbers, thugs. And I say, look, cattle herding land grabbing thugs that woke up one day and thought, oh yeah, let's create our own empire. Like as if it's beans, it's moi moi. That's how you just wake up and create empire. But let me tell you, Fulani Days, in so doing, you created the worst empire in history. For those of you that are learned, go and research all the empires in history and come back and prove me wrong. You have created the worst empire in history, the most cantankerous empire in history, the most fraudulent, the most useless, the most dysfunctional, the most non-achieving, the most underachieving, the most... You have created the most dysfunctional, useless, worst empire in history. Good for nothing. Founded on a fraudulent constitution of slavery and thuggery. Slavery, thuggery, and deceit. You know, it, 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 you know, we hear all these claims about Fulani Empire, Fulani Caliphate. Okay, what do you have to show for it other than blood? What do you have to show for your caliphate? Have you built any great monuments? Have you made any great discoveries? Have you written any great literary works? What do you have to show for this empire of yours? No great monuments, no great artwork, no great literary work, no great scientists, no great sportsman. Just, we're born to rule, we're born to rule. The only thing you have the greatest are the most corrupt rulers ever in history. That's the only place where the empire excels. An empire founded on corruption, the most corrupt empire in history. No, seriously, any learned Fulani, I challenge you, yeah? At the end of this video, you see my WhatsApp link. Contact me and give me anything that can be laid claim to as Fulani achievement, as Fulani Caliphate achievement. I can tell you anything what comes to my mind. Number one, achievements of the Fulani Caliphate. Hmm? The most corrupt leaders ever in human history. Number two, the largest enslavers of fellow humans in human history. And that's it. That's what comes to mind. Look, when I say the fellow enslavers, the greatest enslavers in human history, I'm not pulling that out of the thin air. You know, we know that in the 1800s and mid 1800s, the Sokoto Caliphate had the highest concentration of slaves anywhere in the world at a population of 2.5 million slaves, even more than in America. So, yeah, you broke that record too. You broke that record. So, seriously, this so-called caliphate that you people want to go and vote for now, what are you voting for? What do they have to show you that they've achieved and they're using to better your life? What are you voting for, really? I'm asking the rest of you Nigerians now. What are you voting for? An empire that has achieved kra ta kra ta they've never achieved. Nothing to show for. Not zilch. Nada. Gain to show for. No great men, no great monuments, no great poets, no great artists, nothing. No great historical works, no great sculptures, nothing, not nothing. In fact, they specialize in piggybacking on other civilizations like Saudi Arabia and the British. That's wait, should be the British defeated them in one day in Sokoto in one day. Come on. And the Yoruba fought longer than that. The Igbo fought the Igbos were the most stubborn. The Fulani were defeated in one day, one grand battle in Sokoto. They were crushed. And they from so-called were the warriors. They negotiated terms with the British and decided to start doing boy for the British. So these so-called Fulani that are doing, oh, we're a great caliphate, great caliphate. You're not only where you see people where can't defend themselves, that's where you get power. But when you see people that have power, you don't even have power. You don't even have power. If it's the British now, but you ally with them so that they can supply you weapons. So I can now use to subjugate people that can't defend themselves, and you're calling yourself caliphate or empire. And see, I could have even respected your empire if there was something to show. I mean, even similar empires in history that had little or nothing to show. Yeah? Like Genghis Khan's empire, the Mongols even. Yeah, the Mongols didn't really build anything. Hmm? But at least they revolutionized warfare, cavalry. They revolutionized archery. They revolutionized so many aspects of what they did, even if they didn't build anything revolutionary. But Fulani, even the weapons you use, you claim to be warfare, caliphate, whatever. Even the weapons you use, you don't make. You don't even make. You have revolutionized nothing. You have made nothing. So even when we compare you to the least achieving empires, you are still bottom of the pile. $200 or 215 years of Fulani Sokoto Caliphate. 200 years is more than enough time to have something to show, to build a monument. But there's nothing. If your empire disappears tomorrow, which the signs and portents indicate currently, you have nothing to show other than the three worst records of all times. Number one, the most corrupt empire in history. Number two, the greatest enslavers. And number three, the amount of blood you've shed for all this nonsense. That's the only thing that your history will be remembered by. Tell me if that's proud. That's a proud thing. You guys were lucky. The British helped you, gave you arms, helped you hide all the collusion and subversion. But it's all out in the open now. We're in the 21st century. Come off this your 200-year-old conquest feudalist mindset. Come off it. You know, if you do not upgrade your mindset, you Fulani, if you do not upgrade your mindset, you are going nowhere. In fact, your caliphate you want to revive is a non-starter. It's going nowhere. It's not nothing will in fact, the caliphate will decline if you do not come out of your 200-year-old mindset thinking that you are a great empire, you are born to rule, the rest of us are infidels or your slaves. The caliphate is not just ending, it will decline and die and be forgotten and be completely sidestepped in history. Nobody remember you. Nobody remember you. So I'm saying to all you Nigerians, you're not voting for yourself or your future. You're voting for Fulani. And for them to turn you to Alimajiri ultimately. Because the system of the country is already a Alimajiri system. The South produces the wealth. The North gets 72, 75%. That's already a Alimajiri system. Just like the Hausas own the land. But now the Hausas are going to beg the Fulani warrant chiefs for food. Hmm. See, Nigeria has come to an end. Let's not dance around it. You know, we've been held together for so long by so many fraudulent constitutions. But the good thing is that in all that time, we all knew our boundaries and our lands. And then the UN has provided, the right for indigenous peoples to determine their own futures. This is what we need to do in Nigeria now. The indigenous, because we need to stop this madness. If we don't stop this madness, it will play out on its own and the end will not be nice. Like I keep saying, war does not wait till you are ready. We need to stop this madness. Everybody go back to their ethnic enclaves. We draw up our, we all take referendums. Do we want to continue with this union or not? And if we do, we all draw up our our constitutions and proposals as to how to go forward. But this vote now, they are railroading all of you to go and vote. uh, and there's still some Nigerians that for them, they actually think the most important thing in Nigeria is so-called anti-corruption drive. Right? So you think people chopping money and stealing money is your biggest problem now when your life, your own very life and freedom is at stake. Look, this one is to the British, so-called British Empire. I mean, I don't really give a shit. You guys, I'm sure you have your agents that peruse social media, and pick out videos and individuals. But let me tell you something. Let me tell you this. We know your involvement and how deep your involvement in this fraudulent contraption called Nigeria was. In fact, this message is specifically to MI6. We know your involvement into how deep your involvement was in formulating this contraption to serve British interests. Look, look, look. It's a new day. It's a new world. Let's stop this madness. Let's stop this nonsense. If you continue to support the Hausa Fulani Caliphate to subjugate the indigenous peoples of Biafra and other Nigerians who are yet to wake up, Britain, you've heard the phrase when the chickens come home to roost. Okay. We all saw how the Middle Eastern chickens came home to roost. If you do not stop this madness, Britain, when the West African chickens start coming home to roost, the Middle Eastern chickens episode will be child's play. And this is not a threat. This is not a threat. See, when I first started seeing the Middle Eastern chickens coming home to roost years ago, I used to think, what's wrong with these guys? These guys are crazy, man. How can you strap bomb on yourself and just run in the middle of people and boah? I even used to make jokes. Wow, Akbar. Well, not me used to make jokes. That was the joke was everywhere in the media even. These mad Muslims strapping themselves up with bombs. But you see, I'm sure you're also familiar with the phrase and the saying, one man's freedom fighter is another man's terrorist. Now that I'm in the same situation, I can see their point. Now they don't look so silly to me. That was the only way they could react and and, have an effect. Look, Britain, please, please, don't let us get to a situation where the African chickens start coming home to roost. It will be very different from the first Middle Eastern episode. It will be very different. You know, Africans are mad. Their own madness is on a different level. If and this madness, you don't want it. In fact, I don't want to say you fear it, but you don't really want it. It's because you fear it. Well, the Americans. That's why. That's why. The black people in America are still in the situation they are today. Look, Britain. On a more serious note, even, hanging out with this Fulani Caliphate is not in your best interest. It's like the episode of Princess Margaret that was hanging out with that gangster. What's his name again? That gangster that was a debt collector, used to shoot people, was a hitman, was a gambler, was an enforcer, and then slept with like half the women in uptown London back in the day before he got killed. I can't remember his name now. That's the kind of relationship you're keeping. It's like one of the greatest empires in history caught lying in bed with one of the worst empires in history. It's like Prince Charles being caught in bed with a prostitute. With not even just a prostitute, a crackhead prostitute. Seriously, Britain, that's how it looks. If you were to be honest with yourself, yeah, analyze the situation, Britain, this your cozy relationship with the Fulani Caliphate is like Prince Charles caught in bed with a prostitute, a crackhead prostitute. You guys are not on the same level. Those guys have nothing to offer you. So you support them in perpetrating all these crimes against us in the belief that we'll forever remain their slaves? Can't you see that if we regain our freedom and realize the history, we will not like you? And then this oil that you could have easily gotten from us if you negotiated with us, but you chose to work against us and be getting it from the northerners, from the Fulani, getting it from us by force. Then when we get our freedom, no, you're not going to tell us what to do. You're not. Britain, stop filling up the cup of your sins against the African Negroes. It cannot go on forever. We're in a new age, a new world, a new day. People are waking up to this shit. You will soil all your glory if you do not stop associating with the Fulani Caliphate, and if you do not dissolve all the fraudulence and nonsense you and them initiated. You will soil your own history. Why this persecution against the Negroes? Why? Why? I don't get it. I don't get it. Anyway. Anyway. The word is enough for the wise. If you, as to you Nigerians, if you think, and any, you know, body in Biafra land that hasn't woken up yet, if you think that voting in this election is what's going to save you and give you a better tomorrow, you better think twice. You better think twice. And maybe you all need to, there's a video you all need to watch. I'll try and link it on here. But just to make sure you get a clearer picture, or 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 if I don't succeed in linking it, you can still, try and find the link and watch the video, but you must watch this video. This video tells you everything you need to do. It even goes deeper than everything I've just said. Go on YouTube and type in Tony NNADI. NNADI, that's NNADI. Tony NNADI diagnoses Nigeria's core problem and prescribes a cure. You need to watch this video. This video will lay things better out clearly for you, make you understand why you do not need to use your own hand, wait, to sign the certificate of your own to renew your own slavery certificate with your own hand. And after watching this video, don't just watch it and think, oh, okay, oh shit, Nigeria is doomed. After watching this video, share it with your friends, your family. Tell your family and your friends to share to their own friends and family. Tell them to tell their own people in the village, and that their own people in the village should tell their own family and friends, and to tell their own, and just keep telling. Let everybody keep, and don't just tell one person. Tell two, tell three, tell 10, tell 100. Tell anybody who stop and listen. Because if all of you now are doing, but I beg, make I go sort my belly first. Let me, I beg, I'm hungry, Joe. Let me find food first. Look, we are trying to address the very reason why you're hungry in the first place. You need to elicit a message like this to understand why you're so hungry in the first place and can't even find food. This is not a joke. This is not, look, what's going on in Nigeria is not funny. It's not a joke. It's not something to just disregard or just it can't happen, Jare. How they want to take Islamicize Nigeria? It will shock you. The funny thing is, a lot of people that say it can't happen, Jare, there are people who don't do any research. They don't look into anything. They hear something and they just open their mouth and blah, 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 voice out a cow's opinion, a moo point. Nigerians, you start asking your own questions. Don't even be listening to people. Start asking your own questions. Nigeria is over. Take it or leave it. It's just a matter now of whether that over is going to be peaceful or bloody. But it's over. Finito. Capiche. Dead. Finished. Nigeria is done. And I'm telling you now, if we don't resolve this, if we don't start talking about this, you think, beg, it can't happen, Joe. Let me tell you something. After this election that they've railroaded everybody into, that's it, ticking time bomb. There's a revolution coming. And when that revolution comes, you won't care whether you're ready or not. And if you look at how Nigeria is, when that revolution comes, the French Revolution, I'm sure you've all heard about that, will be like child's play. Will be like child's play. See, before the French Revolution, there wasn't chronic armed robbery. There wasn't chronic kidnapping. That was in France then. There wasn't chronic. There were crimes, but low level. There wasn't like a massive loss of life, but people were just suffering. That was the backdrop of the French Revolution that led to the poor peasants, the poor ordinary masses, rising up against the tiny, rich ruling class and killing most of them. Now, let me show you the kind of climate Nigeria is in now and heading blindly towards a revolution. You have massive crime, all sorts of crime, armed robbery, kidnapping. You even have ethnic cleansing. You have all sorts of dishonesty going on, from fraud to fraudulent pastors. You have the highest level of illiteracy currently in most African countries. Ghanaians can now speak better English than the average Nigerian. No, that's for real. The average Ghanaian can now speak better English than the average Nigerian. So we're going into this revolution with the highest level of illiteracy and uneducation on the African continent. Area boys everywhere. Hey, God. Please, let this revolution not even start. I mean, as much as it is what we need, I'm not eager to go into it. But it's coming. It's coming. Yeah, and it's going to be bloody. Listen, I'll tell you one story before I round up. About 5-6 years ago, I traveled back to Naija. And look, me, I smoke Igbo, I smoke weed. And it's not the end of the world, yeah? Right. So I went to go and buy Igbo in Obalende, because my house was near Obalende. And with time, I got to know some of the dealers. And it got to a stage where anytime I came, they will even start, chairman, Oga, welcome, welcome. They will pull out chair for me. I'll sit down. They'll give me one wrap on the house, even say, make And how it got to this was because I didn't used to go there every night. I didn't like going there every night. In fact, I used to go once in 2 weeks. And when I went, I'll buy a big chunk that will last me for 2 weeks at least. So because of that, because I used to, buy big amounts, which means me putting a large amount of money in their hands, they used to hail me chairman, chairman. And, they would pull out a chair, sit me down, even offer me drink, self, with a free stick of Igbo on the house. And this was just one evening, just before the election of Buhari and Jonathan. There was all this election tension, fake in the air, fear everywhere. Everybody was afraid that there was going to be war. One evening, I went to the joint to go and buy my stash. And I couldn't help but overhear a conversation of just some other random people that were at the joint. And I'll narrate this conversation. I'll narrate this conversation to you as much as I can to paint the picture. But also realize that this picture is a snapshot of what a Nigerian revolution will be. So, for those people who somehow think they're immune to it, oh God, okay. Anyway, the conversation I overheard someone saying, say this election, say you can't even wait, self. Say you already know, say then don't rig am. Say what the only thing is waiting for is make the katakata boss, make revolution start. And other people engaged him. They were all like, say don't too much, this, that, that. And then at this stage, I started paying attention to them. I wasn't talking to them, but and I started looking at them, looking at the individuals from head to toe. And I realized there was actually a mixed bag of people. There was people that looked like area boys there. There were people that looked like they were just coming from an office there. There were two people that were wearing shirt and tie there. And everybody was talking the same language. Look, finally, eventually, yeah, eventually conversation moved on to their plans if there should be a revolution. People started talking about how they were going to invade the Korean VI. One of them even started talking about one street and a house on that street that he was planning to take over by force or by fire in that revolution. That was going to be his house. That all these rich politicians and people that have money that think Nigeria is their own, say that revolution, say everything will rearrange. Look, this is the mindset of what most of the revolutionaries will be like when Nigeria starts. Because look around you, there are more poor people in that Nigeria than so-called rich, educated, middle or upper class. The poor people are uncountable. Well, you think police will come and defend you? As if police is not part of the poor people. And then when police, with their fake gun, they see a mass of 2,000 people coming at them, you think police will stand there because what, government told him to defend you, or you gave him a gunja to defend you? Or what you think you run to airport and fly away? As if they won't jack your car on the road. Jack your car, jack your passport, and anything else you have on the road to airport. You guys don't know what revolution is. Revolution is like bushfire. It's like forest fire. Before you know it, the whole forest is burnt. You guys should wake up, oh. You guys should wake up, oh. It doesn't. The picture does not look nice at all. Oh man, I'm not even trying to scaremonger. Scaremonger for what? The Fulani herdsmen killings. Was that fake? As much as I'm asking the question, why did they happen? You have to ask the question, why did all that thing happen? Why is Boko Haram happening? Why is Python dance happening? Why is this? You have to ask. Don't just think about your stomach. You even have to ask the question, why am I so hungry and I can't find food? Anyway, let me leave this here. Let this video not stretch too much. I hope I've given you enough food for thought. That election, think about your future and your children. My advice to you, and this is not, this one is not even, the IPOB already is not voting. Most Biafrans are not going to vote already. But to any other Nigerian that is within the oppressed and downtrodden ethnic minorities, and to any other sensible Nigerians, my advice to you is abstain from this 2019 election. Election boycott is a valid form of protest. Somebody cannot tell you, oh, you have to choose between whether I shoot you with a gun or whether I kill you with poison, and you must choose. And then you too, you believe that you must choose. You have every liberty not to choose. Let him do what he wants. Let him do his worst. You have a boycotting is your third option that he hasn't told you. He has only told you to gun or poison. That does not mean you only have two. In fact, you have not you have the option of choosing nothing. You have the option of fighting. Even if they've tied your hand, you have the option of fighting with teeth, whatever you can use to fight. You have many options. Nobody put gun to your head and said, yeah, but you must vote, you must vote. No, not voting is a legitimate form of protests. People will ask, but why didn't you vote? And then you will tell them why. Think. Think. The greatest gift you have as a human being is your brain. If you don't use it, you lose it. Think. Take care for now. Bye.